Look at what's floating in there. A surprise. I love eating like this. Can't do them in one bite like you can those little tortellini where you're just like bop, bop, bop. This looks like a spinach pie that we would have gotten in Rhode Island or in Boston or somewhere like that. Even when you order the cup, you still get the tiny little cone to go with it. All right, bring on more mosaics. Welcome to Destination Eat Drink, the travel channel for foodies. I'm Brent Peterson, an American living in Portugal. Today we are in Italy and continuing our road trip. If you want to see all the videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We've got a playlist with all of our road trip in Italy videos. We're making our way through. This is not our final stop, Loreto, in Italy, but we thought we'd stop after a 2-hour drive from our last spot, L'Aquila. And this time we decided to take the autostrada, the tollway. It would have been 4 hours with the non-tolls, which is what we've been doing so far, or 2 hours with tolls. So decided to do that, and it's a new adventure, getting the tickets, paying the tolls, but it was actually fairly straightforward and fairly easy because the machines that you work with, they have an English button on them. So the hardest thing was feeding the ticket into the machine. It didn't seem to fit. But anyway, I think it cost 13 euros, which, not too bad. So we're going to treat ourselves. It's the little victories, right? Going to treat ourselves to a couple little, I mean, look at the size of these things. 70 cents each, got 3 of them, and they're just, adorable. And then a coffee was €1.20 or something. Very nice. And this is a pilgrimage city, so, they could jack up the prices if they wanted, but they didn't. You visit enough of these churches and you start to hear these crazy stories associated with them. Church where bones of a saint washed up on a raft, or where the blood of Jesus mysteriously liquefies, or when a statue of Mary starts crying real tears. And, these stories, these relics, these artifacts are important because when you put them in your church, they become pilgrimage sites and become famous and become spots where people want to visit. So here in Loreto, they have what they say is the home of the Virgin Mary from Nazareth. It's been reconstructed inside this massive church. And you might be saying, yeah, right, how did they get the home of Mary to this little city in Italy? Well, the story goes that the angels brought it from the Middle East and dropped it here. But some scientists did some investigation and tested the bricks, and the bricks were indeed from Nazareth. Now, whether it was Mary's house or not, you have to decide that for yourself. But what they did is they reconstructed it inside. You can go in and visit. It is pretty incredible. This little tiny house in there. I mean, it's basically one room. And then they built this massive basilica around it with the most incredible artwork and altars and several chapels. And there is so much in there. If you love art, you should go in and definitely see it. If you're a pilgrim, well, I think you have to come here. But it's a pretty incredible place. And except for the museum, it's all for free. You can just go in and walk around as long as you behave respectfully. So we're making another quick stop up the coast here in Fano. And I got this, we want to stop here to get this special drink called Moretta. This was traditionally drunk by the fishermen of the area after a long day out on the water. And you can see how cool this is. Look how it's in layers. So this bottom layer is a combination of anise, brandy, and rum in about equal parts. And then the espresso is poured slowly over the top so that you get this exact layer here. Now, they say you're supposed to stir it together before you drink it. I'm going to just try a quick drink before I do that and see how it is. I'll probably only get the espresso in here, but so I read that sometimes they add citrus peel to this. I don't see any in there. Maybe it was, macerated in it. And also a little sugar. And this does taste sweet, so I can taste a little sugar in there. Oh, wait. Look at what's floating in there. A surprise. Lemon peel. All right. So we got the whole thing with the lemon peel, with the sugar, with the anise, with the rum, with the brandy, and with the espresso. That anise is super good. I mean, you can smell it, you can taste it, along with the coffee. Mm. Yeah, anise is the overwhelming flavor here. You can't really taste the brandy or the rum, but it's definitely in there. Mm. Gonna have to try and recreate this at home. It's really, really good. Behind me is the Baptistry of Neon. It's right next to the Basilica, which isn't that interesting because it was rebuilt a couple hundred years ago. But this baptistry is super fascinating. It is the oldest surviving building in Ravenna, dating to the late 4th century. So it's over 1,500 years old. In the late 5th century, the mosaics were added, and that's what you come to see, these Byzantine era mosaics. After Rome fell, they moved the capital of the Byzantine Empire here to Ravenna. This was the capital. So all the powerful people came here and all their money came here. So they built things like this, which at the time was the height of architectural technology. And then they put the mosaics in. And it's fascinating. For this one, you do have to buy a ticket in advance, and they allow only so many people in at a time. And when you go in, you'll see why. It's only so big in there, but it's worth it. These are some of the most fascinating mosaics and the oldest mosaics here in Ravenna. If you decide to visit just one church here in Ravenna, probably this one is the one to go see. It's the Basilica of San Vitale. And, Ravenna was the capital of the Byzantine Empire in the 5th and 4th centuries, but by the 6th century, the Ostrogoths from Germany had taken over, and that's when this was built, in the 6th century. Hard to believe, though, some of these mosaics, well, some of them are older, some of them are 18th century, but some of them date back to the 6th century. Some of them are almost 1,500 years old. It's incredible what great shape they're in, too. They've done a magnificent job, but you walk in there and it is jaw-dropping seeing those mosaics. They are absolutely incredible, and it's definitely worth the entrance price. One thing you can do if you want to save some money, which we did, is to buy the combo ticket, and you get to see 5 different attractions, and I think it was €12.50 each. So that's a pretty good deal rather than buying each one separately. But this one, definite must-see when you come to Ravenna. Don't miss it. All this history and culture calls for a gelato. So this is supposed to be the best gelato place here in Ravenna. Karen and I just got a little cup to share. They call this Black Hawaii, this one, and it's super silky. It has a flavor and a texture like brownie batter is the best thing I could compare it to. It's good. I like it. And then this one is black cherry. And that's really tasty. Good stuff. And I love, even when you order the cup, you still get the tiny little cone to go with it. All right, bring on more mosaics. Seems everyone rides their bikes in Ravenna, and for good reason. It's a flat city and it's nicely paved with a lot of bike paths. So you see bike racks like this and people riding their bikes everywhere. I think it's also an Emilia Romagna thing because when we were in Ferrara years ago, Everyone was riding bikes. They even had a bike passeggiata, it seemed like. But if you want to ride a bike, this would be a good place to do it. So I had coffee with my friend Sylvia, who was on my podcast several months ago talking about Ravenna. She's an expert on Ravenna, on everything to do here, and the food of Ravenna. She runs a tour company here. She has a bed and breakfast here as well. And she recommended this place for piadina. And this piadina is made with olive oil instead of lard. And look how it comes, like a pita. In fact, I think on the podcast, Sylvia called piadina the cousin of pita. So let's give it a try, because what we did was, rather than getting it stuffed with cheese or something, we got a side of au gratin vegetables. So this is with eggplant. Mm. And I don't know what they do with this piadina. It's so rich and flavorful. I can see why she recommended this place. Behind me is the final resting place of Dante, the Italian poet who wrote the Divine Comedy and the Inferno, which is famous for its 9 circles of hell. Dante was best known as a Florentine poet, but late in his life he was exiled because allegedly of corruption, probably for political reasons though, and he came to Ravenna where he died. So they entombed him here, which you can see for free. But the interesting thing is that Florence has been trying to regain his remains for centuries. In fact, a few hundred years ago, they even built a tomb for him for his eventual return of the remains. So far, they haven't come back, and Ravenna is showing no signs of wanting to send him back. And I don't blame him. I mean, you kicked him out of the city. Why should you get him back? Ravenna embraced him, and this is where he lies forever. So this is the other dish that I really wanted to try here in Ravenna. It's called capelletti, and it's a kind of pasta shaped like a little hat. Thus the name capelletti. You look at this, and it looks like it might be a tortellini, but it's slightly different in that, first of all, it's a lot bigger than a tortellini, and the pasta itself is a little bit thicker. So I got a tortellini with ragu sauce, and cheese filling, tomato ragu, delicious. And I like the little thicker pasta, you know, it gives it a little more chewiness, nice texture to it. Can't do them in one bite like you can those little tortellini where you're just like bop, bop, bop. So we took a bumpy bus ride out here to Marina de Ravenna. Whatever the opposite of shock absorbers are is what this bus was outfitted with. A bit of a bumpy ride, but it was, you know, it's easy. So yeah, there is beach out here, and it's super chill. I mean, once summer comes, which is in just a few days, I'm sure this place is going to be a lot busier, but it's super chill right now, and the wind's coming off the water. It's really nice. So we're having some lunch. This is another piadina, except here they call them piada. I think it's just short for piadina. And this place is run by an adorable couple, husband and wife, wife behind the counter doing all the cooking. Doesn't speak English. My Italian got us through enough, and with Karen's assistance. And what we got was spinach and cheese piada that's then toasted on the griddle. And this looks like a spinach pie that we would have gotten in Rhode Island or in Boston or somewhere like that. Yummy spinach, good cheese, nice job, perfect. And then the whole time been in Italy, almost a month, haven't gotten them ready yet. So today's the day. Just a very simple lager type beer, not very interesting, but you know, makes me smile when we have them ready. So we took a short walk to the beach and got our toes in the sand and enjoying a cocktail to finish off our time here in Ravenna. I gotta say, A lot of folks come to Ravenna and just do a day trip, like even half a day. They get on one of those bus tours and they see all the mosaics in the churches, and then boom, they're back to, I don't know where they're coming from, maybe Florence, maybe Bologna. Um, to me, Ravenna is really interesting for the mosaics, but it also has a really cool food scene. Lots of interesting and good dishes to try here. So it's worth coming for the food too. Stay a little while. We did, and we loved it. My cocktail here is called a Mosquito Mule because this bar is called the Mosquito Coast. So it's gin and ginger ale and basil and lime, of course, lime. Refreshing. Perfect to go with the soundtrack of the reggae music that they got playing here. Subscribe to the channel, like the video. We do have some more videos coming up on our road trip here in Italy, and you can support me at buymeacoffee.com/destination-eat-drink, like Rob Rose of Raw Travel TV. I've also got tons of foodie travel guides on that site, buymeacoffee.com/destination-eat-drink. Hit the extras tab. You can see all my Portugal city guides, all my Spain city guides. I got one to Malta. And I'm going to have a bunch from Italy coming up in the coming weeks. Just got to write them and publish them. So that's all coming up. So stick with me. I'm Brent Peterson. See you down the road.